Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Claudia Monacelli with another episode of my podcast, Multiple Voices. I should be used to saying that, but I'm not. I always have to remember. And today I'm here with Seth Santoro, a nice Italian boy from the name, but we'll find out. And he's talking to us from Los Angeles. Seth, say hello to our audience.
Hello. So awesome to be here. I'm so happy and
Good.
honored.
Another wonderful radio voice. Perfect. Now, who is Seth? Seth, who is he? Who is he? All right. He tells me that his dream is to be an intuitive spiritual advisor to presidents and prime ministers around the world. Now, that's a tall order. I wonder why. I'm going to ask that. We'll lead with that. Okay. As an intuitive business coach and healer, so he does the work already. He combines his passion for corporate America, coaching acumen, and metaphysical gifts of intuition and mediumship. Given his intuitive psychic gifts, he helps people to connect with their deceased loved ones, animals or humans, to see, understand, and move beyond their past, present, and not so distant future. I'll ask you to clarify that too, okay? Overcome any obstacle or challenge, and then tell them what they need to hear and see. I'm going to call you out on that as well. And identify their root problems and challenges and navigate through the tough times in their lives and understand death, the dying process, and what happens after people die. He's also a certified death doula. Let's start with that last. What is a certified death doula do?
I think the designation is like an end of life doula.
If you don't, or coach, end of life coach, or something like that.
Yeah. So essentially, I help not only the person passing, but I also help their family to handle, manage, deal with the situation at hand.
Yeah.
And then as a medium, I can help. An intuitive, I can help the people before they pass and after they pass as well.
So let's say that you really straddle, like myself, you straddle both worlds, but you sort of take people by the hand, something, that's very much needed.
Yes.
People.
Absolutely.
Yeah. In their grieving process. Now, let me go backwards with what I was saying, and then I'll go way, way, way back. Okay. So you said one of the things you do is to see, understand, and move beyond their past, present, and not so distant future. Now, how would you do that if we're not talking about death? We're not talking about their death or their loved one's death. What do you do on a one-to-one basis? Yeah.
Right. Yes.
With a person to move beyond their past. Can you walk me through it as if I were one of your clients? I ring you or I write to you and I said, I saw this on your website. Maybe you can help me. What do you mean here by moving me beyond? What does that mean?
So essentially, without doing like a demonstration. Of course. When people come to me, they're looking for answers, right? So
Sure.
So usually this context is more from an intuitive perspective, right? Like what's going on with their life now. Mm-hmm. So I help people identify that which is going on, that which has just happened to them, that which is going on now, and then give them a little bit of taste of what the future is to come, which they can change.
Could we make up a fake client and say Mr. X or Miss Y came to me with I don't know. She just
sure. No, I'll tell you. I'll give you an example from yesterday, actually.
Okay. Well, we don't want the names, of course.
Okay. So there was a nice, lovely lady who came to me yesterday, and she had 3 questions. That's it. Mm-hmm. She wanted a reading and she wanted clarification on 3 questions. One of the questions was, did I do the right thing with my mother's
okay, she told you the
estate.
story. Okay.
She did. Well, at first she didn't.
Uh-huh.
And I said, okay, so this is intuitive and mediumship at the same time. And I immediately heard, no, you're doing what you need to do because it's going to cause you way too much overwhelm, way too much anxiety, and way too much stress in your life that you don't need. So her
mother had passed. Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Like 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Okay.
So she needed to hear that because the first thing she did was sigh. Like, oh, like it made her feel immediately better. Okay. And then I was like, okay, so tell me more, right? So then I heard the quote unquote past and what had transpired, that our mother had passed, that she left her this property. It was in Mexico, and her mother had dreams for the property, up until the present, right, of what her decision has been, which is give it to one uncle who's helping her with her house here.
Right. Okay.
So past, present, and then the future is. I just want her to know over the next couple of months, the brothers and sisters of the mother are going to have issues. And she's like, they already do. And I was like, well, it's going to continue for the next couple of months, 3 to 6 months, and I gave her a little bit about what to do, right? Like how to talk to them in a way that they would understand, how to say like this, this is my decision. And I don't like, this is the best thing I'm doing for myself. So it's essentially taking the past and her present choice, right, to then tell her like this is what's going to happen in the next couple months.
All right, now that's very common also to me as well.
Awesome.
I didn't. That's good. This is interesting. Now there was one other thing I wanted to call you out on. No. Okay, no, I got you now. So what's a nice boy like you doing in a business like this? Don't laugh. Come on.
I love that question.
Well,
I don't even know how to.
Where do I start? High school?
Yeah.
How about
seriously.
high school? Is it high school? Well, when did all this crazy business start?
I know. I'm a New England born boy. I grew up in New York City, and then I became like an adult here in Los Angeles. So I feel I had always had fun experiences throughout high school and college, and then in my 20s.
What do you mean?
Meaning I used to play this party game where I would guess where people were from, right? So to like the state or the country or whatever, and I would usually get down to like the city, or I'd get pretty close. And I always thought it was a party trick, but it turns out that was me partly training for my intuition and mediumship. So it took until I was about 32. It's like 10 or 12 years later now. So you're on
the West Coast already? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on the West Coast. And I was dating pretty much unavailable men for quite a while.
Always unavailable. Boy.
Always. Yeah. And
I know a lot of people like that.
And they couldn't really love me the way I wanted to be loved, or the way I needed to be loved, or they didn't understand that. And they had a lot of issues. And I knew that I just kept trying or healing them, but that wasn't my job. My job was to be their partner, right?
Okay.
So after one major relationship, I woke up and I was like...
So it's one major emotional experience. Yes. Okay, good.
That I think the universe was like, well, I literally said, I woke up and said, I deserve so much better than you. And I know that you can't give me that. So I'm going to go elsewhere. And the next day it was like, the universe was like, okay, you're ready. You're now ready.
Now you're ready.
And then I just couldn't stop feeling like everything, everyone.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it all started with mediumship, by the way.
All right. Now, what do you mean it all started with mediumship?
Well, before I say that, I just want to go back.
I want to know.
When I was 20, 21, I remember one of my best friends had passed away, and it was like several weeks after. Yeah. And I was in the bathtub, I remember, because I don't like baths. And I was in the bathtub, and I said to myself, I want to help presidents. I don't want to be a president, but I want to help presidents and prime ministers.
Yeah, that's why.
In some way.
That's why I wanted to get back to. Yeah. Why?
It all kind of, because I feel like they can make, because they're game changers.
Because they're usually stupid, and
I don't think they understand. Yeah. Like, they don't understand necessarily everything that I understand about life. And they may understand the politics, they may understand the Constitution, they may have been lawyers, blah blah. But I understand like the spiritual aspect of life.
Well, you know that most people in high level government have their own intuitives or astrologers This is very common, it's very common.
I didn't know it at the time, though, right?
Yeah.
But now I do realize that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the 21, fast forward to 32, all this stuff was happening, and I just started feeling information about people as for example, I was sitting across from someone and her mother had passed 10 years ago, and I just knew there was a woman around, and she just mentioned in that, oh, my mother, like the 10-year anniversary is coming up soon.
Yeah.
And all this information started flooding me, and I was like, just out of curiosity, because I didn't know what I was doing at first. And so I said, just out of curiosity, did you grow up in a house with like a white gate, or had a white fence, red gate, and a pink like ribbon on it with a pool on the other side? And she's like, how could you possibly know that?
That is amazing. It's so much fun.
And
I mean, it's fun. It does. It gives you, your hair stand on end, because you think, how could I possibly know, Now, one thing, when I usually interview people, I always tell my audience as well, we work on a questionnaire, so I get to know the person on paper, and I know what I could, propose as topics. And in one of these topics, Seth wrote "A Day in the Life of a Psychic Medium." Now, we're not there yet because it's not a day yet in the life of yet. But before I go there, I wanted to ask you, a lot of people who are listening have asked me numerous times, over and over again, I would like to do what you're doing. And first of all, the question is, do you think people can be trained to do that? Second question that I have to you before the training is, in your work, do you can you or do you put up your boundaries so you get the information when you want it, or do you feel overwhelmed as if things you have downloads all the time?
Okay, which one do you want me to answer first?
Well, they're both. Let me do this one first, and then we'll talk about the training.
Okay. I can pretty much, for the most part, like 85, 90% of the time.
Good. Okay, that's good.
Handle what's going on, right? And handle like if someone's coming through. Sometimes it just happens. It depends on if I'm in a more relaxed state.
Well, I mean, you're at the supermarket and you just can't have all this stuff coming in. I mean, you can manage, right? So
I can manage. My husband. Good. My husband can't. He cannot manage it all.
That's not good. That's not good. You go freaky. Yeah. You've got to work on that. He's got to work on that.
Yeah.
All right. So now we know there's a husband. We know there's another person in the. But before we get to that, let's do the day in the life. And before we go to the day in the life, what about the training? Do you think it's possible for a person to be trained to be a medium?
I believe that everyone has gifts, intuitive gifts.
Yes.
I believe that everyone can tap into their intuitive gifts. I believe that mediumship is like one step further than the intuitive gifts that I believe everyone can train for, practice skill. I do think that you can practice a lot and train to be a medium, but I do feel like you have to have a propensity for it, a thirst, a curiosity, and a calling for it.
Let's use the example of a musician, or a physician. Okay. All right. And if I asked you, could anyone learn to play music? That's similar to what the answer that you just gave me. Yeah. Yes, if they ultimately want to, they can learn. And the physician, obviously they do all those years of training. Do they have a gift? The key word here is the gift. When is it a gift and when is it trained? Can the training morph into a gift? You are given the gift and then you go train, because sometimes in your case, it seems that it happens. And then you try to figure out, well, what is this thing that we call mediumship, right? So it is I know I'm asking you too many questions, but what do you think? You said you have a partner and your partner still needs training, it seems, if he can't, put up his boundaries when he wants, get the information when he wants. Ultimately, it's 100%. You 100% of the time, you get the information when you want. And 0% of the time, it just doesn't come when you're doing the food shopping, when you're watching television, you know? So let's, I forgot the questions.
No, first, musician. I believe it's closer to a musician than it is a physician. I feel like you either get the gift and then you do the training, or you do the training and then because of curiosity and love and passion, and then you find or uncover the gift.
Okay, so that means ultimately the people who have, and I'm talking about at least 15 a day, write to me and ask me if I'm going to give a course on, you know, your higher self and mediumship. Everyone really, really wants to be a medium.
Sure.
So I could tell those people that, yes, if you really want to, you can. That's what we're saying, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. Yep. Now, well, and I'm thinking, well, we've finished talking now. No, you know, there are, you did have also a topic that had to do with multiple levels of awareness. Now, awareness is a funny thing. You can be aware of everything, really. You can be aware of everything you do, but people just don't pay attention. Now, is the job of a medium, does it have to do with awareness in some way? One level of awareness. How? I know that we're listening. You like a lemon. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, no, I love it. I believe that we receive information in so many different ways, as you know, right? Like all the clairs, clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, all the ways that one can receive information.
Right.
I think that's another level of awareness that I don't even include in my regular, if you will, levels of awareness.
Yeah.
So, which I do believe can be developed for sure. I do, however, believe that for the most part, one needs to have a great understanding of the first 6 levels of awareness before you can then start receiving information.
And the first 6 levels of awareness
someone else
are. I have here metacognition.
So metacognition is the awareness of awareness, right? So we can be aware that we are aware of something, right? And only certain animals, only certain species of animals
can do
that, right? Like not all animals.
Then inner awareness.
So inner awareness is how you're feeling on the day-to-day. Like, what is your level of contentment? Are you generally happy? Are you generally sad? Are you generally in between? Are you like,
so it's at an emotional level?
It's an emotional level. Yeah, but it's internal.
Okay. So then self-awareness
is how we present ourselves and show up to the world. How other people, the best way is to see how other people see you. And that's how.
Okay. Yeah. Then social awareness there's a little overlap there, isn't there? Social awareness.
I believe that social awareness is essentially, I use the relation or the tree of awareness like a relationship tree, and it's how we have become who we are. So it's understanding how we relate to others, how we related to others. So it's, it includes like your growing up, your relationships with friends, your relationships with lovers, your relationships with coworkers, bosses. I mean, it scans the whole gamut. Spans the whole gamut. So social awareness is more how you have been socialized.
Okay, so let's round it off with you also mentioned on how it's possible to live a more intuitive life. That for me would mean the basis before we get anywhere into the mediumship. And what would you suggest in learning to live a more intuitive life? What is necessary for people to do?
I believe healing from what we've been through, acknowledging what we've been through.
All right. Now that's a big step, right?
Yes.
That's a really big step, because if I tell someone you really have emotional issues you need to deal with, a lot of people don't even understand that. Well, what do I do with them? What do I do with these emotional issues? And I'm at a loss of what to say. How do people go about healing emotional issues that they're not exactly sure that they have?
I mean, I think, I mean, awareness is all part of that, right? I really
Right,
feel like
sure.
awareness is actually integral and the key to that.
Right.
But I believe we need external forces to help us, right? Whether that's a therapist, a coach, an intuitive, a book. I think we need to receive information outside of ourselves
in order to understand.
Right. And it needs to be hurting us more than it is helping us.
You mean in some way they need to be aware of their
yes
pain,
right? Right. So if someone says I have emotional like baggage, and they don't want to deal with it or acknowledge it,
or they don't know how, really, this is the issue, is where to go. Okay, so then you mentioned your partner, who has he been a medium for a long time?
Yeah, his whole life.
Really?
Yeah.
Would you mind talking about that?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
And he's South African. He grew up in the Afrikaans community, and which is very, very Christian, very, very religious.
And was that instrumental in his becoming a medium?
No.
Okay.
I think that was just part of it. It made it much more challenging for him.
All right. Okay.
Because when he was 4 years old, his grandfather passed, and then he could see him. And he literally went to his mother and was like, why is everyone crying?
I seeing that?
Right.
Yeah.
He's right there.
So this is, it was odd for me. I was expecting a story like that from you, because when you get into, really, because when you get into mediumship, you start seeing things. First of all, you start seeing things, and that is interesting. But now, if that was 4 years old, I imagine he must be at least 30 now. Or more, right? So all of those years, and he's still having issues about putting up boundaries to what comes to him. Do you see what I mean? And that,
I mean, he can. He's just. I was just saying he's not as good as I am in terms of.
I see what you're saying.
I'm like, you're not coming through unless it's an emergency.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. How do you? And I ask a lot of people who work in this business, what do you do for psychic hygiene? How do you protect yourself? Because we
I walk a lot.
Yeah.
It's really self-care, right? Like well,
but it's not just simply taking a shower.
No, you're right. You're right.
So unless you took a shower with salt, with intention. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. With intention.
Like sometimes it's funny, because I did a reading once for Dr. Phil's wife. And she, like literally the morning.
Tell us who Dr. Phil is.
Oh, so Dr. Phil he's a life strategist that Oprah has made super famous. Okay. He helps people kind of deal with what's going on and move forward.
Okay, so it's not Dr. Oz, right? This is another one, Dr. Phil. Okay.
Yeah. And so that morning in the shower, all this information started coming to me. And that's usually the day I'm going to read someone, all their information comes to me, and I'm okay with that. So, but the intention in the shower is like, okay, I'm ready now. I'm ready to open up, and that's important. It's also ready to close. It's also important to close down, right? Generally, I don't.
You don't close down?
No. So I need to get better at it myself, just because I'm on to the next phase. Like I'm onto this meeting. Because I also do.
I know this is the big problem.
Human resources work.
This is the big problem for us to keep clean. Is there's just you got to do it. I guess we got. There's a lot of noise. It's a lot of noise and a lot of problems we get through this kind of stuff.
I think.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I think as I'm closing down with someone and I'm telling them to I always kind of summarize a few things of what they need to know or what they need to hear, right? Which I know you want to talk about too. Yeah. And when I close down, I think I'm also closing down the connection at the same time. I think that's how I do it. But other psychic hygiene, meditation is important, which I could always do more. Yeah. I also need to realize that I'm still a work in progress, and sometimes I forget that I'm still a work in progress and have my things. But taking care of myself emotionally, physically and spiritually, taking care of those are around me too, because those influences affect me as well.
Have you ever been aware that you were under psychic attack? Have you ever experienced that?
Not me.
Or the effects of that?
I've not. However, I've helped
You're
people.
lucky. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I am lucky.
Yeah.
But I have helped other people that are under some
Yeah.
type of psychic or voodoo attack. I have a lot of African friends,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
and a lot of South American friends,
Mm-hmm.
and so wherever you are in the world, there's always some type of name for black magic,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
of
sure.
sorts. And yeah, I've helped people kind of withstand or sever
Sure.
the attack.
Uh-huh.
But I'm lucky that I don't feel like I have. Maybe I have been, but I don't feel like I
no,
have.
I mean, you'll know, you'll know when strange things start happening to you. For me, it happens with physical, I get hurt or I fall in a strange way, or, bump my head or get a cut or burn my arm, strange things that just don't happen, that I know there's something wrong. And it's unfortunate that I have to wait till that, till then to make it come in that way. And I don't realize it otherwise. Yes, I did want to get to having, telling people what they need to hear. What exactly do you mean for their benefit, or what you have that would benefit them? I don't understand that.
I can give you an example.
All right.
That's probably the best way to do that. I have a client who is married and is also closeted at the same time.
Closeted is when their sexuality and their is not made public. Okay, go ahead.
Correct. And there's someone that he's interested in,
right?
Who's interested in him as well, and it could be a really great kind of future together. But what I'm being told, if you believe in angels or spirit guides or whomever I speak to, which I believe it's one of those, whenever I speak to them, sometimes they're like, okay, he needs to hear this, like, don't tell him this.
I see what you're saying. I see.
So
I see what you're saying.
So it's like, I want to say, you need to take care of your home first. You need to dissolve your marriage first.
The same, I did not in those words, but yes, tell them that. I get that. Those exact words. Tell them that.
Right. Or if someone wants to have a baby, there's people that are so longing for a baby.
Yeah.
And they will have it.
The pain.
Yeah.
The pain is immense. Yeah. With that.
And I don't want to say oh, you're going to have it next 2 months, because that's not true. I'm an authentic medium. I believe. So I listen, and they're like, okay, tell them that eventually they will, and tell them that it's going to be you can even tell them a gender if you want. But
a lot of I've had problems with that, because people don't accept the response. Yes,
they don't always like it.
They will have a baby, but it may not be their own, their own biological child. And that has caused me to have problems with clients.
Understandable.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell them, I usually preface something like that with, I'm telling you now what you need to hear.
Doctor, right. Yeah. Right. I usually preference it with, I'm not a physician. Those are things that physicians
right.
So,
I often say I'm not a doctor, but
right.
I'm feeling this in your right abdomen, or I'm feeling this in your right gut,
Yeah.
So go to a doctor.
And now you talked about body parts. I'm a medical intuitive. I don't know if you've done that.
No.
You worked with medical, understanding where the nucleus of a problem is. Have you ever? You could try that. I mean, there's you can try that. That is a very interesting. Let's say offshoot of the work of being intuitive. And it's
well, I haven't studied it. I've read a couple books on it. I when it comes up, I feel like I'm really good at it, but I would never call myself a medical intuitive. I would just say, but I do feel
there you
where
go.
it is.
I lost you for a second. Now say the last sentence.
So I would never call myself an intuitive, a medical intuitive. However, I have had clients that are having issues, and I feel it, and I talk to them about where it is, what's going on. So it has come up in readings before.
Sure.
Yeah.
Seth, I don't know how to thank you for this. Such a stimulating conversation, and it's answering a lot of questions that my listeners and audience have or have always had.
That's amazing.
Please, I hope we can have you on again.
Oh yeah, I would love that.
Thanks again,
Okay.
Seth. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.